workers, your colleagues, man, did I ever have a weird dream last night? I think
Oh
we've
yeah.
all, well, I think we've all done that, right? Okay. As a matter of fact, I did the same thing Friday. uh, I had a dream that was so bizarre, and it was about a person. The whole thing was about a person that in the dream, it was not her whatsoever, period. It was completely left field. And I was trying to figure out, why did I dream of her being so weird and so outrageous and so different than who she really is? Not the same person whatsoever. But come to find out, or in my interpretation, that dream was not about that person. The dream was about my friend. And we were in a workshop who actually was in Fogo Island, but Fogo Island was in Cuba. Here we go again, right? And we were talking and all that stuff. But come to find out, in my own interpretation of the dream, we were hanging out, and it was my connection to him, to my friend, the respect I have for him, love hanging out with him, really cool guy. We really had a good time. We both love photography and we both love nature. The dream was about that. The wife was just a distraction. So that's where I find dreams are very weird. Okay. And if you try to remember, and again, here we go again, I'm bouncing a little bit there, but if you think of your dreams, or if you, most of the time, you don't even think of them, because the minute you open your eyes, you think of your day, or you think of turning off the alarm clock, and you forget about your dream. It's a whole process to try to remember them. And all of your dreams, which I'll touch upon tonight, there are messages, there's symbols, there's things. If you just take a minute to figure it out, and most of the time you can't. These photographs are just that. I'm not going to describe all of them, but of course, the one on the left is from my Watercolor in the Rain project. The one on the bottom right is through my airport projects that I love to do. And it just takes me to a whole different place of photographing and being and all that stuff and figuring things out for myself. But the one on top, the top right, which I've never really shown, is a special one, because that actually comes from a dream. And that photograph was made in Hamilton. I was at the library, that's the library in Hamilton. And since I was very close to my mother, this comes back to my mother, but I always feel she's watching over me. And this is kind of what this photograph represents. The young guy with the hat is kind of represented to me by me when I was young, or younger, and always having the watchful, protective eye of my mother pretty much everywhere as I went, without her interfering in what I was doing. She never interfered in what I did, but she was always there to give me that push, to encourage me to keep doing what I did. So that is what that photograph represents for me. And it has nothing to do with anybody else. We all have our different way of seeing things or feeling things. I found a quote when I was doing my research from a French philosopher, historian of ideas, writer, political activist, and literacy critic, Paul Michel Foucault, who once said, every act of imagination points implicitly to the dream. The dream is the first condition of its possibility. And I think that is very powerful for a quote. It kind of says it all. So I ask you, what is a dream? Okay. In this series of thoughts, in it's sorry, what is a dream? It's a series of thoughts, imageries, sensations, and emotions that occur in the mind during sleep. Dreams can range from a vivid and coherent narrative to fragmented and surreal experiences. Here we go. You know, but also a dream often will reflect a person's subconscious desires. fears, likes or dislikes, and or memories, right? So there's a whole connection with all this stuff. And I'm realizing through the years, even these photographs are probably 25, 30 years old, and experimenting with film back in the day, putting nylons in front of the lens. But all of a sudden, I'm starting to see that there was something in there for me again that had to do with something that happened maybe subconsciously in a past dream or something like that, because they are connected. Your approach to your creativity is connected. Not always, and not maybe the majority of the whole thing, but there is a connection to what you've dreamt about in the past. And there's the whole thing with my interpretation, if you will, of what a dream is. But just to give you an example on how the importance of dreams and how they shaped, and I could go on with examples like this for a real long time. It's pretty amazing. For an example, number one, of course, Salvador Dali. Persistence of memory is that painting. Salvador Dali even describes his painting as hand painted dream photographs. Now, if there's any artist on the planet that can, I think, recreate his dreams, it's him. I think he's the only one that can do it on that level because his paintings are funky. They're sometimes can't even figure them out, but they're based on him. The second one, we all know of the Beatles, of course, and we all know of the Beatles song, famous classic song, Yesterday. It came to that song came to Paul McCartney in a dream. And Paul McCartney recalls, quote, I woke up one morning with a tune in my head and a thought. And no, a tune in my head and thought, hey, I don't know this tune, or do I? It was like jazz, like a jazz melody. I went to the piano, found the chords to it, made sure I remembered it, and then hawked it around to all my friends asking what it was. Do you know this? Is it a good little tune? But I couldn't have written the tune because I dreamt it, unquote. So and that song is now one of the it's a classic song. Um, oops, sorry about that. Hang on, my apologies. Number three, Ilias Howe sewing machine. The lock stitch sewing machine, made in 1845, also came to the American inventor Elias Howe through a violent nightmare where he was stabbed with spears with holes in the tip, which he incorporated into making a successful sewing machine. And here we go. A sewing machine is something today that is part of our lives. Like we take it for granted. It's a sewing machine. We grew up with our grandmothers having them, our mothers, or whatever, and don't even give it a thought. But to think that that machine or the concept of the machine, putting the thread into the tip of the needle, came from a nightmare that Ilias Howe had. Pretty powerful. To me, pretty impressive too. Number four, excuse me, Richard Bach's novella, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I read that book in probably late 70s, early 80s. I read it like 5, 6 times. It's a wonderful little book. It's not big. It's just a wonderful, wonderful book. In 1959, Bach, an avid aviator, heard what he called a disembodied voice, whispered whispered the title of his novella into his ear. So he heard Jonathan Livingston Seagull. He heard the title. He wrote the first few chapters, but took him 8 years and a dream about the titular seagull to complete the work that became one of the most profound and philosophically moving novellas ever written. Bach is quoted as saying, you are never given the dream without being given the power to make it accurate. That's pretty cool. However, you may have to work for it. And there's the thing, and there's the theme that we have, because it's not an easy theme to produce. We all heard of this little thing called Google. At 22, Larry Page was unreasonably afraid that he mistakenly got accepted at Stanford University. This triggered an anxious dream that he managed to download the whole web onto some old computers and keep the links. On awakening, he instantly grabbed a pen and jotted down everything based on which the algorithm was formed. Using this algorithm, he created a new web search engine, Google, which is famously known as that, Google, not even a word. It is unimaginable how our lives would be different today if Page hadn't dreamt of this that night. So that to me is pretty powerful stuff because it's all legendary, it's all amazing creations, artistic or innovative, that literally changed our world, changed us, and entertained us, made our lives easier, etc., took us to dreamland or took us to other places, from Richard Bucks, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, um, all from dreams. So I think there's something to be said here, and I think there's something to tap into, to start understanding. And again, I'm not saying that you have to recreate your dreams. Just be aware of what they're saying to you. All right. This, by the way, is in Fogo Island, and you can find inner peace and unleash your creativity by reflecting on your dreams and aspirations. Dedication, patience, and a sincere passion for your creative goals are all you need to embark on this continuous journey. Keep an open heart and mind and embrace the process. And we were there. This is the backyard of where we stay, and just hanging out, having a glass of wine, looking at the sunset. And if you notice this little line here, this little part of an island, it's right there. Oh, I don't think you can. Hang on a sec. I don't have my pointer on. Might work better. This little island right here is right there. It's right there. So I was creating these photographs with the sky, just kind of flipping out, beautiful, peaceful thing, and it puts you in another dream state, and very peaceful. And that's my buddy Sam, and we're just there hang out watching the sun go down. So don't be afraid to embrace the process by keeping an open heart and an open mind on how something as pretty as a sunset can make you feel. That's Fogo Island also. Art is the dream made tangible, and dreams are the art of the subconscious mind. And just tap into what you're feeling, what you're looking at, but also the symbolisms. And I'm going to try to give you a few tonight, of what makes you see, what makes you approach, what makes you document the subject personally to just you. I was there with a couple of people, and we all did these pictures completely differently. We've all said that before also in the past. Like we could all be in the same place together, in the same, doing the same project. But look at the time we did that parking lot thing. We were all in the parking lot for minimalism. Uh, it was, to me, it was a very interesting thing because we were all in the same place, all confined to the superficie of the parking lot, but we all came out with completely different images, all of us. And why? Well, one of the reasons I should say, is because we all have different experiences, different ways of connecting with things, different ways of seeing things, and different ways of approaching different things. So it really takes you to another place, and that's the fun part of being able to tap in. Dreams are the canvas upon which the mind paints its most vivid visions, and from those dreams, creativity springs forward with limitless inspiration. This is a photo I made years ago at Freeman's Place with a friend, and it didn't turn out. I didn't start out that way, but it finished that way, and it's part of a project, as you all heard me say before, towards silence, and that was something that I started kind of thinking. Um, because not that because I had a dream about silence, um, but I did have, my mother was blind, as all of you know, but in this particular dream, my mother was deaf instead of being blind. And why? I don't have a clue. I don't know. I can't explain it. And so it kind of triggered for me um, to kind of do, and I've been working on these photographs and creating some of these photographs for probably now the last 5, 6 years. I have a whole bunch of them. Maybe one day they'll become part of an exhibit. I don't know yet. But it's just something that I do once in a while based on something that happened to me in a dream 5, 6 years ago, based on my mother. Again, see, here we go. There's the symbol or the connection. In this case, for my case, it's my mother, right? Um, as we rest our minds, as we rest, our minds conjure sensations, feelings, and ideas through our dreams. These experiences can range from the mundane to the magnificent, and they're frequently surreal or abstract. Abstraction is an essential aspect of artistic expression, beginning with a logical foundation and then streamlining complex information by removing excess details. Abstraction enables us to comprehend difficult concepts and knowledge while emphasizing our emotional perspective. These two photographs are exactly the same thing. Same tree, same time, same place, same everything. Okay. And I was actually, after I did this, most of you, I think, heard Freeman speak about his liver transplant and the photos he did in Israel about the fabric place that he was in, very abstract. And in 10 photographs, it told the whole journey from him becoming sick to him healing. Not that I wasn't trying to copy Freeman here. I just did it because that was around the same time that I got my phone call that I was sick. And I was driving somewhere, it's kind of in a daze, all puzzled and kind of freaked out because it felt like I got hit with a sledgehammer on the forehead when I got that call. And I stopped. This is at the L'Université de Moncton, and it's in the field there next to l'Édifice La France. And there's full of trees. It's a beautiful little park, by the way. And I was going to stop there to just walk in there for a few minutes, and I ended up staying there for 3 hours, photographing a bunch of trees. But because I was in kind of my dazed type of state of shock, in a sense, not understanding what was happening to me or even wanting to accept what was happening to me, I started kind of making the tree fuzzy. Um, the photo on the left is a 4 multiple exposure photograph. And just want and stayed at the same place. So just click, 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 4 shots, and just kind of moving the camera a little bit. So it gave me that feel, that look of fuzziness that I was feeling. Now, if you notice these two openings between the branches or the tree trunks right here, well, they're right here. Okay. So then all of a sudden, as I'm going along with these photographs or this subject, I started using camera movement and blurring the scene or how I was feeling because the whole thing, as I started processing it, was a blur. So at the time, this was not a dream. This became a dream in a sense or understanding of it as I was recuperating. And because I was on heavy medication, I was all buzzed out and I didn't know where I was half the time. And all this started to make sense to me. This is how I felt, these photographs, just like Freeman. And as we rest, our mind concentrates on feelings and ideas through our dreams. These experiences can range from mundane. I already said that. Sorry, that's part of my. I'm repeating my notes. Um, but that's kind of how this was, right? So it really goes a long way, and even and part of the work process or the body of work process is giving yourself assignments. I started this assignment for me called Russ Never Sleeps. I think I started that process or to create this project or body of work around year 2000, 2002. I was really attracted to this type of work, to this type of subject, and to really be part of it. And I still do it today. To this day, I still do it. Yes, from that project, I did, I think, 2, maybe 3 exhibits from it. But I'm still creating some whenever I have the chance. So it's a never ending process. And believe it or not, as I'm doing these photographs, I didn't realize what the connection was for me to being attracted to it. And it's not a trend thing. I don't follow trends. I don't follow what other people are doing. I don't care about that. I have to create and do what I do, for better or worse. Uh, but as we went along, I'm fascinated, and I'm a big fan of cars, and I like the design of them, especially the 50s and 60s, 40s, whatever, and the whole car culture. And all of a sudden, because I dream of cars, I dream of driving hot rods and racing, and I used to build my own race cars when I was young, and all of that stuff. So all of a sudden, how do I bring something that I really appreciate or like into dreaming about me driving certain cars or being part of certain car cultures and things like that to what I do, which is photography and hopefully artistic photography? Well, there it is. So these are all photos of rusted cars. So that's my connection to the car where I feel comfortable. And it all came to me once in a while dreaming about me being in different situations with cars. And sometimes they're the weirdest thing, like the dream I just described to you about earlier, about my friend not being her at all. And just weird, but it had nothing to do with her. It had to do with my other friend, um, that the connection that we have. So here we go again. And this is what I mean about tapping into your dreams. I never would have figured this out if I wouldn't have given it some thought and going back and looking through some of my work. That particular project became another project called Urban Decay. These are trains. These are all trains, abandoned, rusted old trains, boxcars, and stuff like that. Just fun to go hang out with. The detail, the graphics of the decaying was really cool, and it's connected to Rust Never Sleeps. And remember that the creative process is highly personal. It only has to do with you, nobody else. Your goal is not to replicate your dreams. Don't try to do that. You'll never do it unless you're Salvador Dali. It's not to replicate your dreams exactly, but to use them as a springboard for your artistic expression. Inter, inter, interpreting, interpre, interpreting, interpreter dreams is subjective and depends on personal experiences, cultural beliefs, and emotional association with symbols and colors. Context, emotions, and beliefs are all important factors to consider to accurately interpret your dreams or the connection to your dreams to your art. So, to hopefully, Jean-Guy, to come back to your question, I don't try to do a body of work or to create some photographs based on how do I create a dream. I use my photos to interpret the personal side of something that I dreamt about. Could be yesterday, could be 10 years ago. I'm hoping the dream that I just told you about my friend, Fogo Island, I'm hoping to create something very special there based on that dream that I had. Our artistic expression originates from the vastness of our consciousness, providing us with a refuge to pause the daily grind and explore our creativity. Within this realm, our imagination can run wild, and we can bring something unique and visually appealing to life. It is a place where we can experiment, play with our ideas, and express ourselves freely without limitations or fear of judgment. And I think that's a big one. A lot of us, um, um, and we want to put something on Facebook, let's say we look for those likes, right? Um, don't be a don't fall into the wanting to be judged positively. Just don't fear judgment. Therefore, let us embrace this mindset, the birthplace of art, and explore the realms of our dreams. And it's really interesting what you can end up seeing and also end up creating, right? These two photographs are actually from a dream. For those of you from New Brunswick, would probably remember not that long ago there was some tension between the Acadians and the natives, Aboriginals, around Tracadie in that area, and it was about fishing, and there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of fighting, and they were burning buildings, burning boats, etc., etc. And there was a lot of bad stuff going on. And around that time, I was hired by the First Nations in Ottawa group. It's called the AFN. And in Ottawa, they were having their annual convention of all the Native people, chiefs from all across Canada. And I was hired to document the, the convention. And around, it was around that same time. And then all of a sudden, I started having these dreams that people were setting people on fire. And it was a nightmare. And while I was doing that convention, they had a lot of people dancing, a lot of people doing different things. They had all kinds of visual projects and music and all kinds of different things, artwork, etc. And I started, these are people dancing, and and I just started combining and doing different things and multiple exposures, as you can see in camera movement. Because what I was trying to do is to interpret the connection between art, creativity, and of course, dreams. Art and creativity are closely intertwined as they mutually stimulate each other in a continuous cycle of inspiration. Dreams play a significant role in shaping our artistic abilities and creative pursuits, as they have the power to delve into the depths of our subconscious mind. And here we go again. So I never would have thought that creating these photographs would come from something that scared me before I started making these photographs. But I never would have made these photographs if I wouldn't have been hired to be part of the First Nations convention. So that was a trigger. Some people experience dreams without color. This is an actual thing, by the way. I dream in black and white sometimes. Dream in without color or limited color perception. This phenomenon is actually called dreaming in black and white. Pretty straightforward, if you ask me. Even though it has been studied for a while, the reason behind it still needs to be fully understood and remain a topic of ongoing research and debate among psychologists and neuroscientists. I don't know if this is part of the reason why I love black and white so much. I'm a big fan of black and white, but this could be it because sometimes I do. Now, this photograph is actually the site of where the Swiss Air Flight, remember the Swiss Air Flight that I think it's Flight 111 that's crashed in Peggy's Cove? That is exactly, I'm looking right where the plane crashed. It was one of the fathers of the son that was on the plane, and he had longitude, latitude, and all that stuff, and he pointed to me where it was. And but I didn't see that photograph that way. I made it that way by underexposing and creating this dark feel to it. The sky is black. The highlight of the water, where's the strip where the plane crashed, um, and then of course the dark water where it sank. So it came from the whole issue of the plane crash came from the sky where the engines caught on fire and the smoke went into the cab or the cabin, and it came from darkness. So the sky just came into total darkness, and then it crashed into the ocean and then went back into darkness from below the ocean. So I start thinking that way when it comes to being in certain places that hit you emotionally. Because I was part of when they were doing all the rescues and stuff. I had my studio in Dieppe, and I was part of hooked up with a guy that was a news photographer, and I went with him for a bit to photograph. It was a really powerful time. Um, it's so that's where we go again. And coming back to black and white, as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of black and white. I love contrast, and what I love about black and white is the harshness and the I'm not going to say abruptness, but the directness of contrast, like in this photograph here, it's a shadow of a person walking amongst window shades and things like that, to the softness and the gentleness and the contemplative side of black and white photography by removing color and simply having hands. Can't have much of a simpler photograph than that, right? And also, sometimes I never know how I'm going to end up photographing in black and white. This is a workshop that I did in Alaska. And I'm not one to do a lot of research when I travel about the place that I'm going because it screws me up. Because when I get there, it's not quite what I have anticipated. I don't like to anticipate everything. Yes, I search and I have an idea of where I'm going, but I want to feel where I'm going. And for me to go to Alaska to do a workshop, 7-day workshop, um, my study was Ansel Adams because I knew I was going to be amongst great, great, great mountains. And this is something else that I dream about, flying over mountains. For some reason, I see a lot of mountains in my dreams. The dream that I had just the other day that I shared, um, I was, we were in Cuba, we were in Fogo Island, but a lot of my visuals in the dream were overheads and we're just looking at all these mountains from all over the place. So going to Alaska, based on sometimes dreaming in black and white and being touched by mountains, I studied Ansel Adams, which is one of the icons of photography for landscape and mountains, things like that. And I knew I didn't plan on going there photographing black and white. I just knew that I was going to photograph in black and white. So, and then I did a whole project strictly, and most of my photos in Alaska uh, are in black and white. And even my friends that were there with me were going like, "What are you doing? Like, look at those colors and look at how beautiful that is." And I said, "Yeah, it really is, but I'm feeling it this way." And for me, photography is a fascinating art form that offers endless possibilities for artistic expression. That was based on me. The people next to me or with me did it their way. It was based on them. Opting for black and white can really create a timeless and delicate atmosphere that draws viewers in. It can highlight the interplay between light and shadow, evoking a sense of stillness and self-analysis. And here we go again. When I photograph black and white and I analyze and look at my photos and I see in black and white, I start analyzing myself. This thing with the mountains, this thing with dreaming about them, and this thing in tapping into Ansel Adams was just that. Don't hesitate to explore the dreamlike qualities of black and white photography. It's just a great project, get you to see in a different way. Dreams can be a rich source of inspiration for the creative process. Artists often draw from their dreams to explore themes, emotions, and symbolisms. And boy, oh boy, there's the key word, I think, when it comes to dreams, symbolism. They all have symbols. You can dream about a nature scene and the sky is pink and the stars are green and there's a giraffe jumping from star to star. It has nothing to do with the stars, the sky, or the giraffe, but all of it has to do with symbolisms. And there's a message. What is it? Who knows? And that's why I say, how often have you been to your friends, to your colleagues, to your spouse, to whatever, and say, boy, did I have a weird dream last night. Well, if you start seeing giraffes jumping on green stars in the pink sky, that's a weird dream, right? So, dream interpretations is a complex and personal, and it's complex and personal. The meaning of dreams, of a dream, depends on your experiences, emotions, and circumstances. For example, consider your feelings and associations with colors. Jean-Guy, here's another project. Okay. And if you wish, keep a dream journal. It's really amazing. Since I did the Inkscape workshop with Lynn and Schwen, with Marjorie Nay and Freeman, um, and it's not that I keep a journal, is I've been writing pretty much everything I'm telling you tonight for about a year now. I'm still writing. I'm still doing I wrote little quotes. I invented my own little quotes, I do little things like that. So I just once in a while I'll be driving somewheres, and I don't suggest that you write and drive. That's even worse than texting and driving. But I have my little phone recorder, and I'll just hit record, and I'll say something weird that reflects my dreams. And that's part of my airport project. And there's a whole other thing there because when I was younger, I had a fear of flying. Planes kind of scared me a little bit, and I'm still leery and weary of going into planes, but I love flying. But I still have that weird feeling of when I'm inside a plane. There's just this weird little feeling that I get. And that's why I do all these weird visual projects when I'm in airports. Every airport that I've been into, I've created something in the airport. Dream interpretation um, uh, is just that. It just makes me think of weird things to do, maybe, but they have a meaning for me. Speaking of colors, um, most of you seen these photographs. They're the Blue Vase project that I did when I lost my mother, and it's a very personal project. It's a project that I shot one photograph, one photo every single day for 30 days. I do that once in a while. Some of you saw my telephone pole one or the door one. I give myself these projects once in a while, at least once a year, and I pick a month. And every single day, no matter what, rain or shine, or if I'm inside, in this case, I photograph and make one photograph. And I have all these different dreams, and I still dream of my parents quite often, actually. And they're very surreal. They're very different. And my parents, especially my father, was extremely artistic. He was a theater person and a sign painter. So then I see him one day driving a Harley Davidson. It doesn't fit because in the 60s, my father didn't even want to own a car because it was bad for the environment. And here he is on a big Harley Davidson. Doesn't fit, but there's a reason for it. There's a symbol behind it. Okay. Dreaming of the color blue, for an example, can represent different things, such as calmness and serenity, communication and expression, intellect and wisdom, emotional healing, spirituality and intuition, depression or sadness, and or harmony and balance. Blue happens to be one of my favorite colors. And I've never realized until I started going through a lot of my pictures dating back 40 years that I have a lot of photos in blue. It's really weird, and I never planned it. But this is a personal project, and it was all based on, well, of course, the loss of my mother, dealing with that, but also dreaming of her with my father. Green symbolizes growth, renewal, harmony, balance, healing, and nature. Dreaming of green could indicate personal growth, connection to nature, a desire for balance and harmony, a need for healing, envy, creativity, fertility, hope, and optimism. And again, when we're in nature, I am so much in peace with the color green. Um, but it's just everything around you
Okay.
is so wonderful. And again, because I dream a lot about nature. So how do I connect that to what I saw in my dreams? And trust me, in my dreams, I don't see this. I see something very weird, very different, but it all has to do with the peacefulness of the whole thing. And nothing beats hanging out by yourself with a little plant. Okay. Nature's calming and rejuvenating effect unlocks our creativity, allowing us to explore fresh perspective and new ideas. The boundless forms and processes of the natural world inspires us to push beyond convention and discover new approaches to creative projects. And I just showed you green. Here's a little thing again with these photographs basically are red and green. Yes, the tree trunks are gray, and yes, there's a little bit of yellow into the flowers, but technically, it's my approach to dreaming in color. The power of nature to inspire creativity is genuinely remarkable. Its breathtaking landscapes, intricate patterns, and vibrant colors offer endless inspiration for artistic expression. By dreaming of nature or understanding your dreams about nature, We're tapping into your dreams about nature. We can tap into its boundless potential, igniting our own imaginations and unleashing new ideas, visions, and also narratives. Dreaming of nature can inspire us to create work that reflects harmony, balance, and interconnectedness. This connection with nature infuses our creations and authority and authenticity and appreciation for the world. I remember way back when I started photographing and I started being invited to do conferences in schools and things like that. And they would ask me for a little, bio or something like that. And back then, all I had was nature stuff. And what I would do is I would always say, um, if I can create pictures of nature that you like, hopefully it will encourage you to like nature and eventually love it. And as humans, it is natural for us to want to protect what we love. So hopefully through my photographs, you will love nature. And if I can accomplish that, I've done my job in promoting care, appreciation, and respect for nature. Dreaming of nature, but and it can be as simple as a sunset. Like you can't get much simpler of a photograph than these two photographs right here. They're just snapshots, no big deal. Done from my parking lot, and but all of a sudden, um, uh, when we dream of this, I dream a lot about nature because I'm comfortable in it. But you don't always have to keep it straightforward. You can start playing a little bit. You can have a lot of fun. That's the Pitikuriak River, by the way. Mm-hmm. The importance of personal connection and dream interpretation. Consider your perspective when exploring the symbolism and interpretation of your art dreams. Your experience, emotion, influence. I think I may have said this before. Your symbol means you may differ from. Sorry, I got totally lost here. My apologies. Your experience and emotions influence them, and what a symbol means to you may differ from conventional interpretation. Trust your feelings and associations for a deeper understanding. And again, coming back to dreaming about nature, here I approach. Everybody saw this lighthouses in Parsbro, but my interest, although I gave you what the lighthouse looks like, if you see this part here, you can see the clouds, the opening type of idea, the mountain, the water. There's the mountain. There's the opening. There's the water. There's the clouds. So I just wanted to take it to another step to turn a simple scene that we look at more into an abstract type of look. And that here we go again, coming back with the blue, right? Numerous artists through history have credited how dreams influence our artistic creativity. Numerous artists throughout history have credited their creative breakthrough to dreams. Dreaming can offer unforeseen concepts, new viewpoints, and invite inventive solutions to artistic obstacles. Here we go, Jean-Guy, overcoming your obstacles. By delving into the unconscious during dream states, artists can tap into a vast source of inspiration that may be inaccessible in their waking state. This is another airport project. The one on the left is that. The one on the right is right here, but it's all part of my Tourist Silence project. This photograph and these ones are part of all that. But on the same token, it's all part of that particular state of dream. State of dream. There's the key, right? Tourist silence. All because I dreamt that my mother was deaf instead of being blind. And I started working on that way. Why do I do that? I don't know, right? But here we go again. It doesn't all have to be artsy-fartsy or abstract or anything like that. It can be simple movement or minimalistic photographs that can relate to what you're dreaming of or you're feeling or you're thinking of. Don't be afraid to explore it. Let your dreams be the canvas of your imagination and let your art be the brushstrokes of possibilities. And same thing here. I think I spent about an hour taking a break from a workshop I was doing, and I just needed to get away by myself for a little bit to collect my thoughts and to use my camera. And all that is I was sitting on a wharf. My feet are dangling, not in the water, but almost in it. And I just took a zoom lens and created a body of work of water moving in front of me. That's it. Nothing major. Have you ever had the particular have you ever had the peculiar sensation of déjà vu? We've all experienced that.
Mm.
It's an intriguing and eerie, actually, at times, phenomenon that can make you feel like you've already experienced a current event before, even though it's happening for the very first time. It's like a fleeting glance into the past, while which can engender a sense of familiarity in the present moment. This is a workshop that Karen and I did in Montreal, and we were in the metro, and I did not want to leave. I just, as a matter of fact, I think soon, once I'm done my project with Radio Canada, I'm going to go spend a few days in Montreal, and I think I'm just going to spend 4 days in the metro. That's it, because I have an idea of something I want to create, and it's all based on déjà vu. And yes, I lived in Montreal before, but there's something else happening here. When I see all these things, it's really bizarre what starts to happen to me with these things, and I start seeing things within the photograph that I don't see at the time. But I will be going to play because I need, and I'm compelled to go do it. And that will probably become a show for me at a later date. But I need to spend a lot of time there to just experience déjà vu, which is part of a dream. Déjà vu. Dreams are like canvases upon where the mind paints its most vivid visions, and from those dreams, creativity springs forward with limitless inspiration. And finally, dreams are the wandering thoughts of your minds, and they showcase your imagination's boundlessness. Within the realm of dreams, our souls whisper to us. We surpass the limits of reality and sprout ideas that shape our world, making them the seeds of innovation. In dreams, we converse with our deepest desires and dance with the stars, igniting the sparks of creativity. Every dream is a stroke of brilliance, adding vibrant hues to our minds, tapestry of of illustrations and notions. They remind us of the uniqueness of our existence. Keep an open heart and mind and embrace the process, as I mentioned before. So hopefully this will help you tap into how you feel about things through